I'll change the equation. I'll break your loom.
But the loom prevents a brutal war where nothing survives, Loki. Not even the sacred timeline. Okay, let's try it this way. Every moment of peace you've ever experienced was yours because I was here, alone, at the end of time, keeping watch.
I understand.
And you want to break the law. What do you think would happen to your friends? I made the tough choices. That's why I get the big chair. I keep us safe. Can't you see what I'm offering here is mercy?
For me? Or for you? No. I'll find another way. Okay.
And around, and around, and around.
What's going on, guys? Bart here with Tully Television, and I want to thank you, all the returning viewers, new viewers, future viewers. I hope that today is the day that we can earn your subscription, that subscription, this, that, or the other subscription. Down below, you hit the red subscribe bar, you hit the like button, right? And the march to 300 subscribers continues, so let's continue to reach new goals. Only together can we go straight to the moon, baby. But today I wanted to finish up the Loki series, Glorious Purpose, the last episode of this series. I'm just trying to get this just right because of my big head. Tom Hiddleston as Loki. Owen Wilson as Mobius, Sophia DiMartino as Sylvie, Wunami Musuka as B-15, Gugu Mbatha-Raw as Ravonna Renslayer, Jonathan Majors as Victor Timely, and He Who Remains, Eugene Cordero as Casey, Hugh Kwan as Obi, Tara Strong as Miss Minutes, and Raphael Cassell as Brad Wolf, who we hadn't seen since episode 5, but we'll get into that as I talk about this episode a little bit. This is where the season 2 ends, and it definitely, I will say that it was a great episode. I definitely was digging the Groundhog Day effect, where if you ever watched Groundhog's Day with Bill Murray, he found himself to be in a time loop where no matter what he did for the day, certain things were just going to continue to happen, and he had to learn that no matter how much control he tries to exhibit, that there is no control over certain things. And this was a similar thing that they were trying to show in this episode with that technique, because at one point Loki had to, in a sense, become like a physicist, right? In order to understand how to fix the problem that OB and Victor Timely were doing here. The problem that they were encountering and trying to solve that problem. And what they winded up finding out, because it literally took centuries for Loki to learn all of this stuff that they knew when it comes to these type of physics, only to find out that it's really hard to maintain the forever infinite amount of timelines is exceeding the amount of the openness of the time loom to take those in. And if it's not exponentially growing with the amount of infinite timelines coming in, it's going to perpetually melt down. And also, this comes at a time where Loki has mastered his time slipping, so to speak. And before I get into that, finally how he solved the problem, and kind of get into the last little bit of my thoughts on the show, I was kind of disappointed that they didn't really show Ravonna Renslayer too much in this last episode. And we never really found out what happened to Brad Wolf, the guy who was playing, God, what was that character that he was playing in the movie? Zaniac, right? We never really got to see what happened to him after he pruned Ravonna and then took off. We got to see everybody else tidy up their little stories, but so that was two little things that kind of was disappointed that they didn't really get into near the end of the episode. Really a follow-up with those two characters, at least with the Brad Wolf character. There's no real follow-up. And they didn't really show too much of the Groundhog Day time loop going on. I would have liked to see a little bit more of that, but to see Loki having to keep going back and back and back at certain points of the timeline were funny. I think that overall the acting was really done well with everything. There was a nice little scene between He Who Remains and Loki where Loki is resolving himself almost to the fact that he has to kill Sylvie in order to save the multiverse, because there doesn't seem to be any other way to fix this problem. And Loki does go to talk to Sylvie about what it is that he feels he should do, what is the right thing. And she's like, well, I felt like I did the right thing, and I'm not going to apologize for it, so you either got to do what you have to do or figure out another problem, because she's still not having any regrets about what she did, and even with the knowledge that it's leading to the indisputed end of time and everything else that comes along with it, that people should still be given the chance to have free will and fight for themselves no matter what, you know what I mean? And Loki just wants to keep his friends around and be a part of something. He wants to break his own loop, so to speak, of feeling like he has to be the villain all the time. And ultimately, near the end of the episode, he kind of becomes aware of what he has to do. And what he does is he goes back one last time, and what he does is he goes out to fix the time loom, and he goes out without any protective gear on. And I'd have to say that this was one of the cooler scenes to have happen in the episode and in the series. all the radiation starts burning away his clothes and stuff, shedding what he was wearing and exposing really his true form, right? And if you remember the material and those gold painted veins of what He Who Remains' house, castle, whatever looked like, Loki's horns were looking like that too as they were growing bigger and bigger, until he used his full power to disrupt the loom and take all the timelines and imbue them with his green magical power. And he finally finds his glorious purpose that he was burdened with, and he becomes the god of stories. And he now basically sits on the throne, wielding the multiverse in his hands, trying to guide it and save it. And that's where we see Loki himself wind up being, with a kind of a smile on his face, because he said, I have to be the god that you need me to be. A god isn't someone who gets to tell you what to do, how to do it, and when to do it. A god is someone or an entity, a being that will sacrifice its own happiness, their own livelihood, their own existence, in order to protect everybody else. And that's the role that Loki took. This Loki had an incredible character arc, like the first Loki did, up until he passed away in Infinity War, that he is greater than what he's ever led himself to believe. That no one is going to write your story but you. And then at the end, we see Obi write a revised TVA handbook that he is admiring at the end of the episode. They were able to re-upload missed minutes. So hopefully all that programming has been rebooted and not affect her to be the crazy, love-obsessed program that she became. B-15 continues to help run the TVA with a council of people. Victor Timely, his character, we see that no one leaves from the TVA book. So that loop is now broken. We see Mobius deciding to go out into the world and view life a little bit in his life, and at the end he sees where he was taken from, and he sees himself with his boys, and Sylvie asks him, what are you going to do now? And he says, I'm just going to let time pass, because he really never really just lived for the moment. And Sylvie, she's doing her own thing, probably going back to McDonald's to sling Big Macs and chicken nuggets, right? She seemed to be really happy with that life of just living a mundane life and having a mundane job and listening to kick-ass records, right, near the end of the day. So that was her little thing, and everybody. Oh, and Ravonna is in that reality that everything goes to that's been pruned, and we see possibly the energy signature reflecting off of her of Eliath, or it could be. I heard someone say maybe Ramatut because of the pyramid that was in the back of her. And Ramatut was an Egyptian pharaoh at one point. And he was also a variant, version of Kang, He Who Remains. So We don't really know who she came across, but they left her very open-ended. I'm just upset they didn't really show Brad because they kind of gave him such a big part to play in this in the middle of the season, and they didn't really wrap his story up. But that's kind of a nitpick, I guess, more so than anything. The real thing about this season is that I think that it ended pretty well. I think that it was going kind of where we're expecting, where Loki had to make the sacrifice, be the one that has to take the ball and be the one to score, so to speak, which means that he has to live his life in isolation, protecting the multiverse, until we see what happens in Secret Wars. There's a lot of things going on with Marvel right now that I'm not sure where they're going to go with with this multiverse saga. And but if they really wanted to move away from Kang, they can, or they can kind of continue with it because there's still the Council of Kings out there. I just think that this was just a really good reminder that Marvel can be good, the MCU can be good, but I think that it's not so much superhero fatigue, it's more dull crap content fatigue, right? I mean, if you're pushing 5 shows out in such a short time span, or let's just say, or 5 different movies in such a short time span, you're really not giving yourself and those crews the time to dedicate to making one of those movies or shows excellent. People rather wait a little while longer for better content than to waiting for no time for dog water content. And I think that this season was a prime example of how Marvel can still be good, but then when I hear what people are saying about the Marvels, it's like, oh my god, yeah, here we're going back to dog water content. But I'm going to give this overall season a 9 out of 10 because I think that they really did. I think the actors did really well. You could tell that they have built a genuine bond together, this cast. I think they built. And listen, I'm not saying they're calling each other on the phone every day, going, hey. But you can really tell that they really invested a lot into the second season and the first season. But I feel like they really put in that work for this second season. And I think everybody did great. Jonathan Majors, all the actors, Tom Hiddleston. And the last thing I'll say is, for the longest time, I was always about WandaVision being the best MCU television show, but I'd have to say that Loki officially took that position as number 1 MCU show with this season, and season 1 as a complete set. So Loki number 1 and WandaVision number 2. I was always WandaVision and Loki, but I think Loki has officially become the best MCU show. But you let me know what you think down below about my thoughts. We're up for hearing everyone's thoughts. But until next time, peace, Snookums.